Hello everyone, a very warm evening to everyone present over here. I am Namrata Hari from SRM IST Ramapuram. Hack the Mountains 2.0 welcomes you all for the sixth session of Qubits. It is really nice that all of you have taken off your time to attend this session to learn something new. Let's continue having the spirit for this event and for the upcoming events as well. We welcome you all for another highly engaging session on the topic Introduction to Microsoft Azure Platform and Services by Pradeep Kandel. Pradeep Kandel is a product and partnerships manager and senior Azure consultant at Dogma Group. And we are elated to have him here with us to introduce the very topic of his expertise. Being a Microsoft certified trainer makes him the perfect person to inculcate our interest into Azure. He will be guiding us throughout the session and will be giving us a rough introduction to Microsoft Azure and the platform services it can provide us with. Hack the Mountains welcomes you, Mr. Pradeep. Over to you. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Namrata. And thank you so much, team, for welcoming me into the Hack Nimale's event, Hackathon. I'm really glad to be joining your session today, your hackathon today, as a speaker in Microsoft Azure area. So basically, hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Pradeep Kandel. So, like Namrata said, I am a Microsoft MVP, and I also am a senior Azure consultant at Dogma Group. So Dogma Group is a cloud consulting and CRM and ERP based company based out of the UK. And so without further ado, let me share my screen first, and then I'll share my PPT, and then we can move into the topics. So from the beginning. Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Can I get a confirmation to this so I can just start?
Yes, it is. You
Okay,
can see your
great.
screen.
Yeah. Thank you so much for confirming, Namrata. Yeah.
No problem.
So with this, yeah. So welcome everyone once again. So today, today's session is more about introducing you to this cloud platform, which is Microsoft Azure. So I'm sure that this is not a new topic, new word for you, because cloud computing has been a buzzword. This has been is the next big thing that's happening in this world today, and particularly in the tech world. Every IT resource is now moving from on-premise environment to the cloud over the last 1 decade, I would say. Slowly, but it's moving everything into the cloud. So there are many reasons why they are moving to the cloud, which will quickly talk about it as well. But then, the more importantly, we'll also try to understand what this Azure platform is, and how what are the services, and what are the things that you can find in this Azure platform. So without delay, let me just quickly ask a quick question. Although there's a limitation for me to just chat with you, perhaps, but not be able to speak. So it's not going to be that easy, of course. But yeah. So my first question to you is what comes to your thoughts? What comes to your mind when you see this uh, cloud word? So basically, I would, if it was a face-to-face non-COVID type session, then it would be more interesting, of course. But uh, thanks to COVID, we are even able to have this digital sessions these days. I mean, from distant places like you and me. So I'm joining in from Kathmandu right now, and I understand that many of you are from joining from India, different cities. mainly from maybe Jammu and so on. So yeah, with this, so basically, of course, so this the symbol signifies that it's something to do with cloud, right? So and in computing, when we say cloud, what does that mean? So I think the easiest. Let me also quickly check into what's in the comment section as well. Okay, Aswani Kumar says yes, bro. Prathamesh says yes. Nice. Thanks for your feedback, guys. So basically, what comes to your mind, or what comes to my mind, is basically, uh, you know, um, the the cloud that we see in the sky. Yeah, if it was about a non-tech world, right? But when it comes to tech, it's more about the agility, something that has no shape or size, something which is always sort of moving, IT resources that can change its shape and size, that that is volatile, that is not fixed, and so on. I mean, there can be different ways to sort of explain this, but but technically speaking, what is the cloud, or what is this cloud computing platform? So basically, it is about an approach to computing. So this is about computing, the another way of computing, right? Where it is more about internet scale, it is more about internet. I mean, without internet, you can't even imagine the cloud can exist, right? And it is also about scalability, the way you can easily scale up the resources, or scale down the resources, or scale in or scale out based on the need, and so on, based on the I would call business requirements. If there's a huge requirement for resources, then definitely you would want to scale up. If there is lesser requirement, then maybe you would scale it down. So, and at the same time, the easy way to sort of connect with the variety of endpoints and devices. So what that means is about, like, as a cloud platform, you would be able to connect to a platform, an approach where you would be able to easily connect to different other services through APIs, or through sort of devices such as IoT devices, Internet of Things devices, or maybe other network devices, or even that it could be the applications, and so on. So basically, it's about a kind of different approach, where instead of having a standard box of hardware resources, now with cloud, you have a huge lot of flexibility in using your computing resources. So very quickly, let's jump into Azure. The way I wanted to connect the cloud with Azure is pretty simple. Cloud, as a cloud computing platforms, Azure is one of the finest cloud computing platform today. So today, uh, there are several other cloud computing platforms as well, but Azure is something that's really picking up, and it comes from Microsoft, and this platform offers several deployment models or servicing models that can really help people like you, or people like as a people like you as in students, or people like you as developers, or IT professionals, or someone who was really not bothered about IT. However, they need to be using IT a lot in terms of building their business, and so on. So with this, a bit about what's Azure here. So what's Azure? Azure is a computing platform, is a cloud computing service created by Microsoft for building, testing, deploying, and managing applications and services through Microsoft managed data centers. So basically, at the back end, there are Microsoft's data centers. There are several Microsoft uh, Azure regions, And these Azure regions consists of several data centers, and so on. But at the same time, the way we consume Azure is we consume it based on the need. So, or in other words, based on uh, pay per use model, right? Or pay as you go model. Some so very standard terms that you will come across when you are using Azure or other cloud platforms. So, but there can be another way to explain this as well. So, Azure can be used to build, deploy, or manage applications. Several DevOps tools have been integrated into Azure platform. Azure offers a range of uses and benefits for organizations. It provides the ability to scale on demand. It provides simple and reliable data storage on huge scale. So, I mean, there is no single introductions. There is no single way to introduce what Azure can do or what Azure is. I mean, for developers, Azure is a platform which you can use to build and deploy applications. For ID professionals, Azure you can use, or network professionals you can use to monitor or manage your IT resources. Right? If you are into DevOps, then you can use DevOps tools from Azure, and you can integrate into your applications and so on. So there are broad range of Azure services that you can use, and at the same time you can benefit hugely benefit the organization you are working with. So, and the most importantly, it provides the ability to scale on demand. If there's a need, then you can easily scale up. If there's no need, if I mean, at some point, if you're not needing the service, then you can immediately scale it down to maybe zero. So there's no cost, right? So it's a huge flexibility in terms of using Azure. And obviously, I mean, Azure is backed with several Microsoft regions, like 60 plus Microsoft regions, Azure regions, and a lot of data centers within them. So these data centers host this data and applications, and yeah, there's no limitation, I would say. So basically, when we speak of the cloud computing platform, I think the way we can leverage this platform could vary depending on what kind of patterns that your application is showing up, depending on what your business is like, depending on your need. For example, if you look into the on and off model of your computing requirements, then uh, there could be some situations where you don't want to run your applications all the time throughout the year, or maybe every month and so on. You might just want to switch it on uh, maybe once a month, twice a month, thrice a month. For example, like if this is a result, for example, there's a university which wants to publish the results for the university exams, and the exams occur every, say, quarter. Then this particular applications, the university might want to switch it on maybe once in a quarter, in 3 months, right? So in that case, we understand that there's a like number of several days of inactivity period, and then there's a there are 2 to 3 days of activities. Because the website is up and running, the application is up and running, and then there is non-activity again for the next 3 months or so. So we understand that there's a pattern. There's a activity period, then there's a inactivity period, then there's a activity period, and then there's an inactivity period. So in that cases, you can really leverage this Azure platform. So you can easily make best out of the investments that you put onto your IT resources. Then quite similarly, for example, as a startups, you know you have just started running a new company. You set up everything, but now you don't want to buy computers, uh, because it has a lot of the computers, because there's a huge cost, particularly the servers. I mean, when you want to buy a server, definitely it will be of high specifications, and it would cost huge, right? So instead of doing a capital investments, uh, you might want to do some operational investment, in fact. So this is the best way to the using cloud computing resource is the operational expenses way where you don't invest in lump sum, but you invest as per the need, as you use. You only pay for the resources that you use. You only pay when you use it. So which means, suppose you are using some of the IT resources, so Azure resources today, then at the end of the month, then you get a bill, and based on the uses, based on how much of storage you used, how much of IP address you used, or how much of the other Azure services, AI services, or the cognitive services, or other. There are several services, like hundreds of services out there, and based on what you use, you get a bill at the end of the month, and you pay for that bill, right? So that's how you can leverage Azure as a platform. And particularly if you are slowly growing, then this really makes sense. If you somehow do not want to continue, you can easily put it off as well. So I mean there are these scenarios. For example, the other scenario is unpredictable bursting, or the next scenario is predictable bursting. So basically, predictable bursting is about the pattern that you already understand. Okay, so which is between, say, 6 p.m. until 12 p.m. midnight. There's a huge you know there's a huge uh, what do you say, uses of your applications. There are so many hits that comes to your applications, and which means definitely your server is going to be so busy that you might want to even scale it up slightly, so that you meet the customer requirements, your business requirements, without putting the server to into the stress. So what you could do is uh, you can set your applications in Azure in such a way that when there is a huge influx of the the hits, then you can scale it up or scale out, depending on what the actual need is, right? So basically, when I say scale up, then it's more about adding additional resources to the existing server. However, when I say scale out or scale in, it's more about adding similar servers, but similar physical servers, but they are different, right? But with that, you are able to maintain the high availability of your your application. So, but yeah, so this is how you can leverage Azure platform, or even the cloud computing platform, irrespective of whether it is Azure or any other provider, any other cloud platform. So basically, from the pattern itself, it's pretty clear why the cloud, right? But just to put it short, I think these are the three important factors that I just even talked about, like scalability and economics. But yeah, speed is really important factor that drives people to cloud. For example, you can rapidly set up environments to drive business priorities. For example, you might suppose you want to do a proof of concept for something, some for one of your potential clients. Then you can easily set up one or multiple servers, or you want to host applications immediately. With Azure, you can immediately do that within like few minutes. You can run your applications within that, right? And depending on, I mean, customers can ask for anything, right? And you just have to accept that and the support, and try to understand their requirements, and based on that, you need to be able to meet those requirements. So with Azure, the scalability is another really good thing that comes with. And with this, you can easily Depending on the need, you can scale up or scale down, as I said before. Then, of course, there's a lot of saving in terms of the monetary values as well, because although in the past several years of my interaction with the customers and the students out there in Nepal, there has been a huge concerns that Azure is it's not cheap. I mean, it's costly. So that's what they say. They said. I mean, but I have always been vocal about it that Azure, if used smartly, is economical. It's not really costly. I mean, there are several ways to optimize the cost, the uses. I mean, if I mean, it is not difficult to run out of the credits or run out of money when using Azure as a platform, as a when you need to use different services from Azure, because the more you use, the more you have to pay, right? So, but how much you want to use it, it totally depends on what your actual requirement is. Suppose your requirement is for a VM, a virtual machine, for example. Your requirement can be met by a machine with 6 GB RAM or 8 GB RAM, or a quad core processor. But suppose that instead of 8 GB RAM, you are provisioning it to 616 GB or 32 GB, and you're not really bothered about the utilization of the CPU or the memory utilization. Then definitely you are missing out on the on the on the optimization side of the uses, which is so important in terms of when it comes to Azure, or when it comes to using the cloud computing platform. Because this is really important in Azure, uh, uh, you know, because it's about how much you use. It's about PYAZ, as a standard word says, pay as you go, right? So you really have to be sure that, okay, this is the exact amount of uh, resource that I need for my applications to run perfectly. If you understand that, well, if you know how to, suppose for example, there's a business that runs only from 6 p.m. until 12 p.m. midnight, then there's no point in running the application. Maybe there's no point in running that. And suppose it runs in only one geography, say only in India, right? And it runs only in India between 6 p.m. until 12 p.m. midnight. Then you do not really have to switch it on between other hours. Rather, you could define that configurations, that those settings within the Azure platform, to say that, okay, when it is 6 p.m. and beyond, then let the resource be this much. But when it is, say, after 12 p.m. midnight until 5:59 p.m. the next day, put the resources uses to the minimum, or say even zero. See how much of cost saving you can do with that, just with some logic that you can apply based on your cloud uses pattern. See, so there are several ways that you can do. And beyond that, there could be other ways as well, right? I can't be speaking it right now because I have other things that I want to cover today. So, but yeah, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that, okay, that there are like 60, like I said, there are 60 plus regions all over the world for Azure, and each of these regions are latency defined parameters, which means there are these availability zones within one region, multiple availability zones within one regions, and even each availability zones, they consist of several data centers, right? And depending on where you are, depending on where your customers are, you can really make use of these geography. So as I said, there are like 60 plus Azure regions worldwide, and uh, there are like thousands of enterprises that are using it, and hundreds of service providers, and so on, all over the world. If you see it, there are these Fortune 500 companies that are like 97%, over 97% customers are coming in from the Fortune 500 companies as well. So now moving forward with what this platform is like. So I want to give you some idea about this cloud service models. So I understand that this is something not really new to many of you, uh, because there's something called Azure IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, right? But how is it different from your traditional on-premise services or the resources? So basically, what happens is, if you uh, if you look into the leftmost, if you look into the leftmost uh, uh, pillar that says your application consists of the the data, runtime, middleware, the operating systems, because without these resources, your applications cannot run in your on-premise, right? And on-premise means you're managing everything by yourselves, right? But what happens to your management thing when it comes to platform, cloud platform, is when it comes to infrastructure as a service, then you manage only the applications and the data and the applications and the runtime in between. That's it. You're not really bothered about how do I manage the virtualization, how do I how do I manage the servers or storage or the networks and so on. We're not concerned about that because the vendor is managing everything. So in this case, Azure is your vendor. So Azure manages all of these things. You're only worried about, you only manage the operating system. That's it. And your applications and your as well, of course. But when it comes to, if you're using any platform as a service, then not even the operating system, because even the operating systems or the middleware or the runtime, they all of those are managed by your vendor. What you manage is just your application and your data, of course, right? And then there's this thing called software as a service. And when I say software as a service, so basically this is a public cloud platform where you really, as a, if you're a developer, you really, I mean, you're just selling your application. If you are a developer, you're just selling your applications, leveraging Microsoft's Azure marketplace. So Microsoft Azure provides a platform where you can, where you can, sort of publish your applications, and you can provide those applications to your customers without needing you to manage the underlying resources from there. All right. So with this, let me quickly go. Okay, there's a Aswani Kumar says cloud is a delivering service to store our data in the data center. Yeah, of course. Okay, yeah. So coming back into my slides. Um, so next, I want to move into uh, the deployment models. So deployment models is basically like there are several models like private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, community cloud. I don't want to read out all the content that I've written here, but basically private cloud is something where it's meant for a single organization, right? And but it can be managed by the same organization, or it could be managed by a third party as well. So, and it could be on premise or it could be off premise as well. It doesn't necessarily have be within the organization's premise. Community cloud, as the name suggests, it can be a shared infrastructure for a specific group of people, or not really group of people, I would say group of organizations which share common interests and so on. It can be managed by a single organization, or it could be managed by a third party, depending on the real time scenario and so on. Public cloud is very common. I mean, even Azure in itself is a public cloud, like because it's a multi-tenant platform, meaning that there are several organizations that are part of this public cloud. and it's a mega scale infrastructure. It's available to general public. Anyone can use it, depending on you know the users pattern and depending on the need and so on. And hybrid cloud is something which is a composition of two or more clouds. For example, there could be a scenario where your organization uh, is has maintained a private cloud, but then the organization realizes that, okay, there are certain resources that cannot be really built from the from the beginning, while in on-premise. So what we could do is they could bring in some of the resources from the cloud, from the public cloud. So they want to bring in some of the resources from the public cloud into hybrid cloud, not into hybrid cloud, but they might want to bring that together, right, for better outcome. So, and that could be, and or there could be there could be some proprietary or compliance reasons that they might not want to have some resources uh, on premise or off premise. So what they could do is they could just mix up both. They could just mix up both hybrid. Sorry, they could mix up both public and private cloud to make it a hybrid cloud. Another important things to note is, of course, the open cloud. Open cloud. Azure is open cloud, which means that Azure as a platform comes from Microsoft. Doesn't mean all of the resources, all of the services, all of the applications that you see in the Azure platform is from Microsoft. No. So it's an open cloud. Anyone can, I mean, irrespective of if you are a .NET developer, or if you are a Java developer or PHP developer, or if you are really good with Joomla or WordPress or so on, you can bring it all together in Azure. Depending on depending on your expertise area, right? And then quite similarly, you might want to use management tools. Again, it doesn't need to be something to do with Microsoft. There are so many third-party tools that comes within the Microsoft Azure platform. Similarly, whether it be database tools or infrastructure, sorry, or even the DevOps tools. You can find everything within the Azure platform. So Linux is being treated. So you can run Linux on top of Azure. Whether it be on a Azure VM or a database or simply an applications, you can leverage Linux within the Azure platform as well. So just wanted to touch base upon the way the evolution is happening, has happened, not happening, but has happened over the last few years. Is earlier we understand that we were everything was on premise, which means there was, when you wanted to set up a platform for your applications, there were a lot of questions that you would need to address, right? So for example, how can I scale my app, or who would have access to my physical access to my servers, or who would monitor my app, or are my servers in a secure locations, or which OS should I use? See that there are like number of questions that you would need to address when it comes to on-premise. But as time with the IaaS, infrastructure as a service, these questions really got smaller in number, right? Because the way I explained the service models, where infrastructure, where when it comes to infrastructure as a service, there would be so many services which Microsoft would take care. As a developer, you would, as a customer, you would not really be concerned about so many questions, under virtualization and beyond virtualization. So, but As we moved on into the platform as a service, the number of questions really got reduced, with where we were really happy with that as well, because as we leveraged platform as a service, the questions, some of the questions would be like, what is the right size of the servers for my business needs? How can I increase server utilization? How many servers do I need? How can I scale my app? Some of the questions, these questions were really hot with platform as a service. But as we moved on, so we are moving forward into the serverless. Many organizations are now leveraging the power of serverless these days. Now, this is more about how do I architect my app. The the way we ask questions has even changed. Right? So the serverless is the next gen platform for the next gen apps, because basically serverless is about abstraction of servers. There's no server that you need to manage that you would be managing, including um, you know, so because it's more about event driven. So based on the event, based on any activity, uh, uh, your you would based on the triggers, and even the billing would be, it's not even the per second billing would apply, but based on the consumptions, based on the number of events, uh, the serverless billings would occur, which means it's more detailed billing. Obviously, so manage apps node servers, of course, and which also means so reduced development and operations, and of course the faster time to market. So the go to market would be much easier with the uses of serverless platform. So within Microsoft platform, serverless means leveraging the Azure functions, or logic apps, or even grid, and so on. So yeah, so with this, I want to quickly go into some of the demos that would give you an idea of, okay, this is Azure platform and so on, and then maybe we can close with any questions if you would have. Mhm. Looks like there is no question so far. All right, so let's move ahead, and so at this point, what I would like to do is I would like to share a different screen with you, where I would be logged in into my Azure Pool. Um, yeah. It's for swing. What I would do is I would share my screen once again, where I would be sharing a different screen. Not the screen. That the screen would be the same, I think. What I would do is I would share a different browser. So at this time, I would like to share my browser with you. Okay. All right. So I guess the browser is visible now. Yeah. So basically, if you look into my screen right now, I'm currently logged in into my Azure platform. So you see that I'm logged in with one of my email address, which I not really use it. I only use this email address for logging into Azure. That's it. I don't check my emails with this email address. But yeah, just wanted to confirm, give you a heads up that I'm currently logged in with this email address. So, but how do I log in? I mean, for those who is really new to Azure, uh, you log in with portal.azure.com. So when you do that, then my password is saved. So or I'm automatically logged in into the Azure platform. So what it says is it's displaying my recently used resources or services that I've used, like some of the subscriptions, resource groups, app surveys, virtual machines, functions, apps, and so on. So these are some of the services that I had used before, and this is my test subscription. So basically, what I would like to show you right now is, first of all, a quick demo of this Azure Pool. So if I click on this three tabs, uh, it would give me the Poodle menu here. So these are menu items where I could see in the first place it says create a resource. If I click on here, I would be able to create a new resource leveraging that various services that it has, right? So, and these are my favorite resources, services that I have pinned it here. Although some of these services were uh, available by default here, but some of them I pulled it down here because I use them most often. So what I mean is, if I say click on create a resource, then it takes me to a different screen to say, okay, so it says these are some of the popular services that I can use, right? So for example, one of the popular services is Windows Server 2016 Data Center. So this is basically, if I click on here, this is basically what is it? It is a virtual machine, Azure VM, with an operating system as Windows Server. So Windows Server is a server-based operating system. So suppose if I want to create Azure VM, then I would, first of all, I would need to select one of these subscriptions. So I have multiple subscriptions. So what I would do is I would use this Easy Labs subscription with I would call it as layer hack. This would be the name of the resource group. So basically, resource group is a container that holds resources for Azure solutions. Because right now I'm trying to create a, let's say, a application server with a Windows Server installed in it, and I mean, there would be a lot of services, resources associated to this application server. So what I would do is I would create a new container for this, and creating a resource group is the best way to containerize or create, or adding all of those resources into one container. And this is a mandatory thing that I need to do. So you can see this is a required field, and I have given a new name to this. So I would want to give a new name for this. I want to give a machine name to this. Say I want to give it a Pradeep as the machine name. Uh, and where do I want to host this? I'm based in Nepal, right, in Kathmandu right now. So the nearest data center is either Southeast Asia, which is Singapore, or any of the data centers in India. So yeah, I mean, the easiest one is Southeast Asia for me. So Southeast Asia, this is coming from Singapore. And see that there are several images that I can pull and spin this VM, but my concern was to create a Windows Server VM, right? So what I would do is I would use this Windows Server 2019 Data Center Gen 1 VM. I see that there are other versions of Windows servers as well, but not, doesn't really matter to me because I'm going to provision it right now and then immediately delete them as well, because it would otherwise consume the credits and the money as well. So there's this other feature called Azure Spot Instance. So this is another feature, so which would help me to make best out of my investments. So, but yeah, so one of the sizes I want to use is the default size. There's nothing called default, but yeah, it Microsoft Azure recommends some of these sizes with, say, 3.5 GB of RAM. It's costing me 78.89 pound. or this one costing me £236 per month. So I can use any one of them, say this one. So this is standard D4S V3 VM. So I want to give it a name to this. Say I would call it as Pradeep again, and the password to be, say, password itself. So, but it says password must not include reserved words. So password is a reserved word. So what I would do is I would say Himalaya at 12345. Let this be the password. So if I have to update this password, then yeah, so this Himalaya at 12345 works. And then it says what would be the inbound port rules. So basically what I would select is public inbound ports. So I want to allow the selected ports, right? If I go into the drop down to see, I should be able to RDP to this virtual machine. Do I also want SSH, HTTPS? For now, I'm okay with RDP because I want to secure this VM as well. I don't want to be allowing other unknown uh, bots or people to access this VM. So yeah, only RDP. And then there's another option that says I can save up to 50% or 49% with a license I already own. So this is about this, like bring your BYOL, bring your own license thing. So which means suppose I already have uh, suppose I already have a license, then what I could do is I could use that license in this VM. See, I can save a lot of money with this, right? But right now I don't have a license, so what I would do is I want to use I want to go without it, right? So, but I mean, it's fine. I mean, as long as I want to be a compliant, I can, depending on what I have, depending on whether I have the license or not, I can leverage this functionality as well. So, but right now, what I would do is go into the tags, where so takes tags is basically it's about segregating your resources that you have created in Azure. For example, what suppose you know depending on which department is using this VM, or which project team is using this VM, I can give it a tag to this. So project, say project name, and the project name is say X. Uh, what is the project name? Okay, X app. App is the project name. See, and then I want to move into the next step where I simply have to review the resources that I've just created, and then into yeah, you can also note that there is this option called download or template for automation. So basically what that means is when I download this template, this is a ARM template, as in ARM, Azure Resource Manager template, which you can leverage to do automation, which you can use, uh, to implement infrastructure as a code, which means instead of provisioning the resources from Azure portal itself, what I could do is I could write codes in JSON format, and then I could deploy the code so that I would be able to immediately, provision a virtual machine with these many parameters, depending on what my need is, and so on. So yeah, and then create, and then I'm done. So it's just about waiting for just a few minutes, and then submitting, and the deployment has just begun, right? So the deployment is now in progress. So within just less than a minute, I should be able to have this VM up and running. Any questions? There's no questions so far. There's a conflict. Deployment to resource group this failed. Additional details from this underlying there might be this. One resource deployment option failed. Please. So what is the conflict? The specific disk size is 64 GB. Size 64 GB is smaller. Okay, so smaller than the size of the corresponding disk in the VM image. Oh, the size 64 GB. Disk size is smaller than the size of the corresponding disk in the VM. So, which looks like I should be using a different VM size. So, what I would do is I would go into back into this resource. Then I would quickly add, because I'll just go with the easiest way right now. VM name. I would once again go with this name as this. Reasons so this is easier. I don't want the redundancy in this. Uh, Let me just go with the D2S, this one for now. Select. Username is Pradeep, and then password is this. Output is RDP is allowed, and that's it. I want to put everything default for now. Yeah, but this is how you do it, right? So basically the validation has passed, which means I can easily now create and then RDP into this VM. So this was like about creating a VM. Now, what about, say, I want to host a web app, web application in Azure. So then, in that case, I would look for the app services, or maybe, yeah, app services. So there's something called app service, and I could leverage this app service for this. So what I would do is I would want to create, or not even this way. What I would do is, say, if I want to create a, I can do this way as well. But what I could do is, say, I want to create a WordPress site, right? And how would I do that? Is search for WordPress. Just a second. Yeah, so there is this called WordPress. There are several options within this, but I'll just choose WordPress as an option. And within this, if I click on the create, then I should be able to create a WordPress app. So it's prompting me to provide a name for the app. So again, what I would call it is, I would call it as Himalaya. So remember that this needs to be a publicly available subdomain, because it's, after all, it's going to be himalaya.azurewebsites.net. So what I would do is, Himalaya is definitely not available. Himalayan is also not available. Oh, it is. It is. So Himalayan is available. and this is the subscription that I want to use. And the resource group that I want to use is, maybe I would create a new resource group for this. Malaya hack. Okay, so this is another subscription that I have created. I do not. Okay, so it's prompting me to provide the database provider. Um, so the database provider could be Azure DB for MySQL or MySQL in-app. So basically, when it says my Azure, so there are two ways I can provide database to this app. So one is MySQL in-app. So this is the default option. I mean, this is the MySQL comes with the app service environment itself without provisioning a different dedicated database. So, um, but there's on the other thing called Azure Database for MySQL, which I can use. But for this test purpose, what I could do is simply use MySQL in app, because that this way I would not need to provide the additional details as well. So simply MySQL in app. And now, what is the pricing tier or the app service plan that I want to use for this app? And depending on the app service plan, if I click on this, I should also be able to, if I create a new app service plan, let me give it a name, Himalaya, and then where do I want to really host this app or this app service plan is say one of the reasons. I'll go with the, say, Southeast Asia or India. Let me go with the South India this time. And this is the pricing tier is S1 standard. So I'm fine with it. So what I do is I'll just go ahead and click on OK to create this app service plan. And now is the application insights. So application insights is basically a part of Azure Monitor, which I can use to monitor my applications. I get all the metrics, and with that I would be able to get insights about my applications later when I need them. So as I was saying, by the way, as I was saying, MySQL in app is, it runs a local MySQL instance within the app itself and shares resources from the app service plan. So basically, with the same cost, I mean, the cost that incurs is not for the web app, not for the app, but for the app service plan, right? And because I'm also using a database provider as MySQL in app, so what it does is there's no additional cost to MySQL in app, because it's actually using the app service plan itself, the resources from app service plan itself. But certainly it has some limitations. For example, this is not a recommended provider for the production environments, and they will not scale beyond a single instance as well. So this is something that we can note down as well. And then finally, just go ahead and create this, and then we're done. So on the other side, we deployed Azure VM, right? And the deployment was successfully completed. So if I go into the resource, and if I have to connect through this RDP to this VM, I'll just go ahead and click on the connect with RDP. And then, yeah, before I download this and try to connect into this, let me jump into the side to say, yeah, and let me also share my entire screen so you see what's happening, how it works when it comes to the RDP as well. Is there any questions? No questions. Okay. So what I would do is I would stop sharing once again, and I would reshare with my entire screen on. So share and share screen, and my entire screen. Yeah. So with this, what I would do is I was into here, not here. I was here. So this is being deployed. The web app is being deployed. WordPress app is being deployed, and there's other side where a VM was deployed. I'm trying to download this RDP file for me to connect to this virtual machine if I remember the credentials. But I believe I remember the credentials. Yeah, this is the password, but the username was Pradeep. The VM name was Pradeep as well. But yeah, so with this, remember me, okay, and with this, I'm able to connect into this VM. Yeah, that's it. So I am able to connect into my VM. So this VM I'm able to connect. So like we defined, this is a Windows Server 2019 Data Center Edition VM. And if I do CMT, this one. So who am I? So this is a Windows Server VM with the PC name as Pradeep and username as Pradeep that I had created. And yeah, I mean, this is a clean Windows Server, so which I need to update first before I can even use it. So yeah, with this, maybe I can just close this VM because that's it with this Azure VM. On the other side, I can, okay, the deployment is in progress. So in the meantime, what I can do is I can simply delete this because I don't want to keep it on.
There is even a question for you.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah.
so Ashwini had asked, which cloud platform is better if I want to start with cloud computing, Azure or AWS?
Okay. Okay, there's a comment and which cloud? Okay, okay. So Aswani, I understand Azure better than AWS. So definitely, in most of the cases, I would say go with Azure. But honestly, there's no difference between Azure and AWS. I mean, as a developer, as a professional, as a student, I mean, you can opt for any one of them because both of them are leading platforms. Your future will be secured understanding any one of the platform, or try to understand both of them. So, um, I mean, try to see in your locality. I mean, if your friends are learning Azure, I would suggest go with Azure because it will be a bit easier because trying to collaborate with them and so on. But honestly, if you look into the documentations of Azure, or even if you look into the documentations of AWS, both of them are excellent. I'm not sure if you know of this platform called Microsoft Learn. Microsoft Learn is an excellent platform where you can get all of Microsoft documentations, including for cloud platform, which is Azure. So just go with the learning paths from Microsoft Learn. So I can show you from here. Say, like I was saying, Microsoft Learn. So Aswani, if you're not sure of this before, I mean, just believe me that this is the best ever platform for learning that was created for tech people. Whether you are a student, whether you are an expert, this is for everyone. Okay, so just go with it. Whenever there's a need for anything, I try to go with this Microsoft Learn platform as well. But yeah, this is a great platform, and I don't really want to advocate one platform here. because, like I said, uh, the learning resources are excellent, whether it be AWS or Azure. I hope that answers. That's funny. Namrata, is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, this is based on my experience because I have actually checked out the AWS side of the documentations as well, and I have interacted a lot with the AWS professionals as well. And in fact, they said that the Microsoft Azure documentation is really good, but I have also checked out AWS documentations, and even they are equally good. I mean, I don't see much difference in terms of the content. I mean, both of them are the cloud platform. The basics are the same. I mean, the nomenclatures may vary, of course, right, depending on the products. There are a few differences in the functionalities, features as well, which at some point, when it comes to some services, there are features that are good in Azure, and vice versa. But overall, uh, I mean, both of them are good between Azure and AWS. Okay, let's move back into where we were. So we are done with Azure virtual machine. So we had remember that we had provisioned this two vCPU, virtual CPU, and 8 GB RAM based standard D2S sized VM. With this is the public IP that was assigned to this Azure VM. If I click on this public IP, you see that this is a dynamic IP, which means this IP would not be the same next time. May not be the same next time when I restart this VM. But if I need to ensure that the IP address doesn't change, then I need to make it a static one. But right now I don't need this because my intention was solely to delete this VM because I don't need it anymore. Not just the VM, because if I look into this resource group, there are several other resources that have been created to support this VM. For example, the disk, the network card, the IP address, the NSG, which is the firewall applications settings, and the public IP, and the VM file in itself. So, but like I said, I don't need this, right? Because I have successfully demonstrated you what how to run or how to provision a VM. So I would simply go ahead and delete this resource group now. So delete this resource group, type this name here, and then press on delete, and that's it. So this would be deleted in no time. Yeah. So in the other side, I deployed a WordPress site. So the deployment was successful here. So if I go into here and go into resource, then I see that the app service is currently it's running, right? It's running. And this is the URL for this. And remember that we used an app service plan called S1, which is standard, right? And this was hosted in South Asia region. Health check is not configured. We did not want to configure it because that's a luxury for us, I would say. For now, we just did with the basics for now. I can also view the JSON format, JSON file, so that I can use it, this JSON file, for the upcoming deployments, most probably for automation. If I click on the URL, then so himalayan.azurewebsites.net, this is the WordPress site uh, that we had just deployed. So basically, it would take me to the place where, from as a WordPress developer, I would be able to host a brand new WordPress site. So click on OK, next, and then I could give the. I mean, this is a WordPress developer's stuff right now. So if I am a WordPress developer, I should be able to put in all the details and to follow the best practices in WordPress, and then start building the website and the applications from here. So yeah, this is how this works. So basically, I just demonstrated two services from here, but yeah, there are like hundreds of services in Azure. just go into all services and then see that there are these virtual machines, app services, storage accounts, and so on. There are like numerous services. There are containers. There are uh, AI plus machine learning based services, mixed reality, IoT, Intune, management and governance based DevOps. I mean, you name it, you get it from Azure. So really good platform that you can learn and leverage in your applications from here. So yeah, with this, is there any further questions? Else, maybe we're ready to close. If we have, oh no, not ready to close because I think I wanted to cover maybe two more slides from here. Yeah. So I mean, I understand that many of you are students here. So and many of you, since you are participating into this kind of hackathons can be a good point for you to start a startup as well. So maybe at this point, if you feel that you need support in terms of Azure free credits, then the best way to reach out for Azure credits is through your Microsoft, through your people in your Microsoft community. For example, Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. I hope that many of you know what this Microsoft Student Learn Ambassador program is. Some of the team members from Hackathon, I think, are Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors as well. So they can be a good point of contact to ask for Microsoft Azure credits, but they cannot guarantee for you to get support for Azure. But yeah, definitely they can be the good point of contact because they know whom to connect at Microsoft, so that they can lobby for you, so you get access to these tools. But yeah, I mean, to get started, please go into azure.microsoft.com slash free slash students. So I mean, there are many universities in the world, including in India, I think, that the universities have already enrolled into Microsoft academic programs. With that, students and educators, they get free access to Azure. In fact, if you have a credit card, then you can associate your credit card and get certain resources for free as well, certain Azure resources for free as well. You can definitely pay for Azure and use all the resources that you want, for sure. And even for Azure, there's a Azure for Startups program which provides free Azure credits up to $2,000 to $5,000 for your innovative solutions. Like if you're presenting on hackathon, which means your solutions could be really innovative, that Microsoft would want to support you in terms of Azure hosting and other Azure services. So that could really power your application. Yeah, with this, just a heads up to you all guys that there's this thing called Microsoft Global Azure Bootcamp, not bootcamp this year, although there's this event called Global Azure Camp that's happening between April 15 to until 17. There are several meetup events that's happening, so you could join any of them. So even in Kathmandu, we are running this event in April 17th, and it's all going to be all digital this time. Last year it was digital. The in 2019 it was until 2019 it was face-to-face events. This is going to be the full day of Azure learning, where you get to understand the infrastructure and the application side of the platform. So definitely we want to go deep down as much as possible in these full day events. But again, I mean, learning Azure, there's a lot of things that you can learn in Azure, right? Because so many services, like I said, like hundreds of services, and learning Azure in one day is nearly impossible. But yeah, so as the next steps for you, please join Azure communities. I mean, there are several Azure communities in India, of course. Um, I mean, throughout the world, you can join from meetups, from Facebook groups. You can join Facebook groups. Of course, there are groups that are dedicated to Azure. You can ask questions. You can there are like there are Microsoft sites dedicated to Azure community. You can join them for free and try to ask questions there. I mean, if you are blogging, maybe the blogging is another good way to learn Azure as well. Not just Azure. I mean, with blogging, you can learn really almost everything for sure. So, and guys, if you have not signed up for Azure so far, please sign up. So that is the best way to get your hands dirty and start learning Azure as well. So with this, thank you so much everyone for joining me. If there's any further question, I would definitely want to take up. I'll be here for just for a few more minutes. Moving to the chat. I don't think there's any other further questions, but yeah. With this, over to you, Amrita.
Thank you. Okay, that was an amazing session. Even I, as a fresher, learned a lot of new things. So if the audience have any other doubts, they can definitely reach out to your social handles. I guess you are active in LinkedIn or any other platform which you would like to mention. They can definitely contact you for further doubts. So I guess
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Pradeep, for taking. Yeah. Go on.
I can share my LinkedIn profile if anyone wants to connect with me as well.
Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Sure. Mhm. You have also mentioned in your
so
last
this.
and slide, right? They should. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in the I cannot. I can write in the comments, right? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's me. It's
Yeah.
it's it's yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely see the final slide that Mr. Pradeep had screen shared, and you can contact him there in LinkedIn. So I guess that's it. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep, for taking off your time off your busy schedule for being with us here today. It was really amazing to hear out your valuable insights you had for us. I am sure the audience loved your session. Before we sign off, I would like all of you to fill off the feedback form link so that you are eligible to grab the Hack the Mountains participation certificate. Okay, anything else you have to say, Pradeep, sir?
No, thank you, Namrata. I think I'm fine. And for me, it was really good experience because connecting to students from India, I really do that because many a times, like I have connected to like hundreds of colleges, students, universities from Nepal itself, but not much from India. Although I connect a lot with Microsofties from India.
Mm-hmm.
We do events together, we run workshops together, and in fact, we are running Asia Pacific level events this April, in the third week of April, around Azure data communities. We're running this between several countries, including India, Nepal, Singapore, and Malaysia, and so on. So, yeah, but it's really good to connect with the students like you, universities like yours, and delivering sessions but had it been like two-way communications, it would be much easier, much interesting, I would say. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
still, I think this is a really good thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all the best to the event as
Yeah,
well.
thank you. Also, like now, we have also posted Pradeep sir's LinkedIn link in the chat box, so you can definitely check that out. Also, stay tuned for our next session, which will be on Saturday, 10th April. See you all there. And thank you, everyone, for attending this session. Bye. Good night. Thank you, sir,
Yeah,
for being
thank you so
here.
much. Bye bye, have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.